Okay, let's start the stream. Hello, welcome to my 7.22G first impressions stream. My name's Purge. I haven't read this before. I've been slightly spoiled thanks to Day 9 messaging me. The Night Stalker got buffed. He's real excited about it, so we know that's coming. But I haven't read any of these yet. I'm going to get some of the mechanics wrong. I'll test some of them. But heads up in advance that I have no prep time. So I'm going to get some things wrong. Apologies. Okay, here we go. Item changes. Oh, sorry, general changes. Basic neutrals now give 5% less bounty. Huh. So that's everything but ancients. That means ancients still give normal amounts. That means jungling is going to be even worse by just a little bit. Stacking camps will be slightly less beneficial, for example. Kind of surprised about this one. We'll see. Bracer magic resistance reduced from 6 to 5. Bracers are really good still. Buying them on support heroes, buying them on core heroes. It is not uncommon for me to buy a Bracer at least like half of all games, I feel like. Hand of Midas recipe costs included that gold. The item was still too good, basically. Especially on heroes where it works out nicely for, like heroes that need the attack speed. So it's just going to make it less beneficial for heroes where the item isn't really, really good to work out. Chainmail armor reduced by 1. Rough. But a phase is too good. This makes sense now. I was watching Pure and Flax's stream like an hour ago, and he was playing Clockwork, and he had phase boots, and he had a blade mail, and he only had plus 10 armor, and I was very confused. I was like, why does he only have plus 10 armor? No, it wasn't played. It was his armor talent. He had phase boots and the armor talent. He only had 10 armor. He should have had 11. They reduced the armor by 1 here. So basically, phase boots is just going to be a little bit less broken on all heroes. Especially, this is basically going to be a big nerf to strength heroes. Anybody that buys phase boots and bracer, those are being nullified a little bit. But 1% less magic resistance isn't like game breaking, but it is going to matter because if you stack multiple sources of magic resistance, you get extra benefit from it. So these numbers are definitely going to have a small impact. The 1 armor is pretty big though. Phase boots are still really good by all means. They're still worth purchasing, I think. That's without a doubt true. It's also I also like that they didn't just nerf phase boots by 1 armor from 6 to 5. I like that they also reduced chainmail because chainmail as an item, you might think like, why is that a big deal? Like, why is chainmail being reduced here a huge deal? The reason is because it is very commonly an item that's rushed in the safe lane, especially by offlane heroes. They'll usually buy chainmail as soon as possible just to have the 5 armor bonus. That way their trades and their regen end up being more beneficial. So it's going to be a small nerf to those heroes as they work towards phase boots. So, and you could argue the same thing for carries as well. Sometimes they'll buy chainmail right away. Medallion of Courage, armor reduced. That is the armor that it provides you. Okay, it looks like they just nerfed all aspects of it. And the same for Solar Crest. So Medallion used to be 7 armor, and then when you'd use it, you'd lose 7 armor, and your opponent would lose 7 armor. Now it's only going to be 6. So it gives less armor, and it will take away less armor from your opponent. Solar Crest did get nerfed, as some people expected, in 2 ways. Recipe cost goes up by 100, and the armor goes down by 2, which is kind of a big deal. But again, if people have less defensive armor on phase boots, and they left the armor values for Medallion and Solar Crest the same, then phase boots would be kind of like a double whammy. It would actually make Solar Crest and Medallion better. So them being reduced by like 1 armor is in some ways not that big of a deal, I guess. Maybe that's fair to say. Sentry stock replenish time increased by 15 seconds. It's kind of a big deal. It's going to make spamming sentries a little harder. Oh, yeah, I started streaming and now you want me to pay attention to you, dog? I tried to cuddle her earlier and she was like, no. Just trying to impale my banana flavored milk drink. 1 second. That's good shit. Grievil's Greed gold bonus per stack reduced from 4 to 3. So no longer provides mana regen. It's pretty good. 15 talent gets nerfed by 20 damage. Everybody was getting that one. And the 25 talent is also nerfed by a pretty significant point. It's 25% weaker. So it's going to be harder. I figured they would nerf his talents. I don't know if he would get hit by all of these. I think the Chemical Rage mana one is pretty big. It's going to mean that you're more likely to be able, like mana burning, Alk is going to be more viable, and he won't be able to like spam spells as often. What the Grievel's Greed does, the gold bonus per kill, it basically means how quickly you can ramp up to 32 gold. So once you lose your combo of killing a bunch of creeps, it's going to take longer to build it back up. Whereas before you could do it pretty quickly, I guess. But it's not that big of a gold nerf, but it's a little bit of a gold nerf. Basically, if they're a good player and they never stop farming, this won't make that much of a difference. But if they're a bad player, it's going to be more punishing, more or less. See, Lyra, thank you for the sub. Chemical Rage no longer provides mana. Yeah. The 20 damage is definitely going to matter in terms of like these like burst timings where you go like Radiance plus Blink Dagger. Those are going to be harder. Anyways, just small nerfs, not that huge. Primal, Split, Storm, Windwalk damage increased by 40 damage at all levels. This is actually a pretty big buff. The reason this matters is because when you use the Windwalk Storm Panda, you can always hit with it twice. It's very similar to Janata, or not Janata, Shadow Walk on Bounty Hunter. When you cast it, it has a fade time. You can hit them while it's fading, and while doing that, you'll still apply the damage bonus. Well, in this case, it's a slow now. It's a slow. It used to be a damage bonus. You can apply the slow basically as you're going invisible. And then, but hitting while you're going invisible doesn't break the spell. Once you are invisible and you hit, then it breaks the spell and applies the slow. So basically you can apply this twice. So this is essentially pretty easily an 80 physical damage increase if you Windwalk twice, which you should do every time, especially now that it's increased by 40 damage. And the fact that it's 40 at level 1 is pretty massive actually, because you can probably do this twice per combo. It kind of depends how much your opponent is moving and all, but doing the Windwalk twice is something that I always really prioritize when I'm playing the Primal Split. I probably should prioritize more on Cyclone stuff, most likely, but if you're just trying to do raw damage, this is a okay buff to Brewmaster, in my opinion. Broodmother Spin Web Scepter upgrade reduced from 12 charges to 10. I think that is fine. And the movement speed has gone down by 10%, also very valid. The hero's like really, really fast with Ag Spin Web, so I think this is completely legitimate. 20% extra is still great, especially when it removes the movement speed cap. Small buffs to Chaos Knight, late game ones, just a tiny 15% crit advantage. And the level 15 talent cooldown reduction increase. I actually really like this. I think this is a nice change. It's not a big percentage, like 3% is pretty small, but 12 always felt really garbage to me. Because it's easy to look at it and think like, it's like 10, it's very close. But 15 feels more significant. Could make Midas more viable on the hero. This probably offsets by minimum the nerf to Midas cost. 15 strength talent is still really good, but 15 cooldown is really nice on this hero. Because the thing is, like, CK really wants to have, like, having lower cooldown of Chaos Strike is nice and all. Let me check let's check the numbers in comparison. Because I think this is like one of the things that really limits CK as a hero. So it's 10-5 for 145. 10-5 for 145. And then if you get the other talent, 8.5, 4.25, 3.4. Like, this is actually a pretty significant amount of time off of your ulti. You're cutting off like 21.75 seconds, 20 seconds off your ulti, which is not bad. It's not insignificant. If you get like a blink dagger or something, that's getting cut down by a little bit. Like, these kind of things matter. Midas goes down to 76.5 instead of 90. So doing patch stream. So I could see this talent becoming pretty valid on getting 1.5 seconds on Chaos Bolt's not bad, The Chaos Strike one's really good, I would say. Especially what if you get the last cooldown? 1.75. That's pretty often. That's really how you increase your damage by a lot in the late game. It's a Chaos Strike cooldown, so I don't know, making that quicker when your illusions are up, I think is pretty legitimate. I think that's a nice way to buff the hero. I think it's going to make Midas more core. If you go that cooldown reduction, you pretty much have to get Midas, I kind of feel like. It's 15% translates to what? So it's 160 divided by 90, right? So that's like 1.7 gold per second. And then, shit, what was the cooldown? 90 times 0.85 is 70 something, 76.5. So 160 divided by 76.5. Oops. That becomes 2.09. So basically, if you have a Midas and you get that cooldown, you're giving yourself 32 gold per minute. So it's a 32 GPM talent. Not to mention all the other benefits. That's pretty good, I think. That's pretty good. It's not, it's not 90, it's not 120, it's not a huge amount, but it's more levels, it's more experience. I think that's pretty solid. Okay. Now it's going to jump on me. Where are we at? Chaos Knight. Okay, Chen, Holy Persuasion, maximum creep level reduced. Again? Oh, I mean, I knew Chen was going to get nerfed because pros are still first round banning him, but that hurts, man. That one hurts me. This means you can't take Hellbears anymore at level 1. That was like the best creep to get in the past because Hellbears are level 4. The red ones, you could get those at level 2. You get them at level 2. You couldn't get them at level 1. I don't even know what's a level 3 creep, to be honest. I'm not even sure. No more level 1 golems. Golems are level 4. Holy shit, dude. Well, Holy Persuasion. I mean, there's still some decent low-level creeps. Like, if you can get the satyrs, pretty much all the creeps at the small camp are, some of them are fairly strong. But, yeah. Yeah, Harpies and Ghosts are still pretty good, but you need 2 points in Holy Persuasion just to get the Hellbear now. That means you need to be level 5. This feels too strong of a nerf, honestly. I haven't read the rest of the hero stuff, but my god, this feels rough. You can't get a Centaur, I think a Wildkin, a Hellbear until level... Am I wrong? Let's go into a game. Alright, let's read the rest first. Divine Favor Heal Amplification reduced by 2. I expected this. And the cooldown increased by 20 again. And then the talent increased by 10 to help compensate a bit. So you can get it down to a 40-second cooldown. Okay. I'll just watch on the watch tab. I don't need a custom game. Let's go here. That way they... Oh, this game's fucking over. I mean, I don't know if Chen is still going to be first round banned because the neutrals that you're going to have available are even worse. So Centaurs are level 5. Mudgolems are 4. Level 5, 4. They're all the same creeps. So all the ogres you can get. Ghost is still a 3. God, it's all Centaurs. You can't even get a Satyr Mind Stealer at level 1 anymore. It's literally all Centaurs. Satyr Tormentor 6, you can't get the blue one, but you can get this little guy. Wildkin is 5, yeah, so you can't get him until you're level 5. I don't know, man. Seems a little weird. Huge holdbacks for Chen. Maxing Holy Persuasion just sucks. You have to do it, but like, god, dude. Rough to beat Chen. Small camp plus White Satyr, yeah. It's not great, for sure. But that's Dota, I guess. Having a 140-second cooldown at... Like, the problem is that pros can abuse the teleports so well. Like, they do stuff like lane swaps for free, and do some, like, 4-hero invade at the bot bounty rune, then pull the carry back top without losing anything. There's stuff like that that is really abusive, so Divine Favor is still really solid to have early on. So I kind of get it, but I don't know, man. Clockwork getting some int buffs. Sandor's very happy right now. 1 extra int at level 1, and then an extra 0.2 per level, which is like an extra 2 or 3 mana per level. 5 more movement speed. That's actually pretty huge. And then the power cogs knockback radius increased by 15. So that means that if enemies get close to Clockwork, or get close to the cogs, they're less likely to be able to just outrange it. I think is something somebody else was pointing out. They asked me the other day that melee heroes could, like, it was something like melee heroes all got their attack range buff by a little bit, and it was enough maybe to attack cogs without getting pushback. So cogs are going to be better now, basically, against melee heroes. One thing Sander complained about, or at least I saw him tweet about it, was that he plays clock all the time. So that you lose mana when you use level 1 cogs right now. I mean, leveling them up all the way is not bad damage, but it's like a 15-second cooldown, so it's not really, I don't think it's viable to level it up right away. Three attacks to break cogs is maybe a little bit too good, perhaps, but I mean, I don't know if these are going to make big differences for Clock, but he definitely needed some buffs considering he was like one of the unpicked heroes at TI, I think. Disruptor Static Storm maximum damage per second increased, and Static Storm radius increased by 50. This is actually kind of a big deal. I like that they increased the radius a little bit. Comparing something like Static Storm to like Ricky's Smoke Cloud is not easy. And the damage increase might seem small, but if you have something like Ags, it's a huge deal actually, because the duration goes up a lot. So you can actually deal an insane amount of damage with Static Storm when you buy Aghanim Scepter and increase the duration. Yeah. I wish I could like check like before and after damage totals, but it's a little hard. Precision Aura increased, so this is an attack speed increase by 2% factorial. Is that correct to say? Probably not. 2 extra percent per level. And level 15 talent increased to 50% Gust Blind, which is a pretty big difference. I could see that talent being useful, especially the 15 and 20 talents, just evasion. You can put mischance on people and give yourself evasion. Those will stack nicely. So that gives you like, if you are blinded for 50%, that's a so if you're missing 50% of the time, and then you're attacking a guy with 25% evasion, that means you're hitting like 37.5, something like that amount of the time. Yeah, 37.5 with those two, which is pretty good. Could make Drow a better fighter, but the hero is barely, I mean, I didn't even see any Drow strats. I'm sure Drow was picked because I didn't see her on those lists, but she has not been a super strong hero for a bit. ET getting nerfed, Astral Spirit cooldown increased for 23 at level 1 down to 17, and the Astral Spirit buff is now dispellable. So that means once you buff up your own armor and your damage and your movement speed, you can now dispel this on ET if it's really scary. So heroes like Oracle, you could argue, are an ET counter now. Chen at level 1, something to use your Purge dispel creeps for, would be to dispel Elder Titan, and then he's got to sit around for like 23 seconds, sad that he doesn't have any damage bonus. Duration is 8 seconds normally. I'm sorry, the Spirit's out for 8, the duration of buff is 10, so he's gonna have big downtime now after using his Spirit, but he's a very good laner, and then he transitions pretty well at accelerating your allies to dealing a lot of magic damage, so I'm not surprised to see him get nerfed. And this isn't even that bad of a nerf, in my opinion. This level 1 is probably the hardest thing about this, especially that actually what's really big about it is that you don't actually max out Astral Spirit very early. Usually it's the 3rd skill you max, so if you try to leave your Spirit at a low skill point level, it means that you're not going to be able to scout as often, you're not going to be able to deal magic damage aura as often, you're just going to have less availability. You won't be able to do like Spirit Stomp combos as often. So I think the Stomp cooldown is not even that long, is it? Yeah, it's like 14 seconds at level 1, so you're going to have all these like Echo Stomps ready to go, but your Astral Spirit isn't ready because the cooldown is low. So it's going to basically make him more of a skill point starved hero. Because normally you would either go like, you'd go like 0 to 1 maybe, and then you would max out Echo Stomp. Or some players would go like 2 to 4 if they wanted a lot of aura to do more magic damage. So now basically nobody would max Astral Spirit first. And I don't think they still will. Very likely, but it's going to make hero's going to feel worse basically, but it's not going to be super obvious because you're like, oh, I only have to wait like 4 more seconds, but that's going to mean less successful kills, like less successful defenses, that kind of a thing. It'll definitely matter. Chanter's base damage reduced by 4, Nature's Attendant's heal reduced by a huge amount at level 1. So it's basically becoming a pretty shitty skill. At level 1, that's like what? 7 times 4 times 11. So now Nature's Attendance will only heal you for 308. It'll only heal 308 at level 1, which is a pretty big difference. Before it was about 400, looks like. So it's not even as good as a salve anymore. Costs 170 mana, it's got a 35-second cooldown. So I think this is a good way to nerf the hero. I assume that they're going to reduce Untouchable or something like that, but the reality is that like her issues are twofold when you're playing against her. She did good damage, she could harass you, she was difficult to attack rapidly, and she had a heal. So even if you did do damage, she could heal it back up. But now if they nerf the heal, at least at early levels, you can pressure her a lot at like level 1, level 2, level 3. And it's not going to be as easier for her to heal back up to full. And also, because the Wisp number goes up, even though it takes time for this like heal number to scale back up again, it's not that big of a deal. So like it's mostly going to hurt her at level 1, because 7 is significantly less than 10. 9 is not as bad as 10, as 11, for example. Impetus damage rescaled by 2% less at all levels also, which is going to matter most at level 6 to 11. Faces Void, agility gain reduced by a tiny bit, and Chronosphere cooldown increased to 140 at all levels. So Ags looks better, that's for damn sure. Buying Ags will cut the cooldown by a massive 80 seconds, which is insane. Tiny agility gain decrease will not hurt him that bad, but Faceless Void was a very strong hero at TI. He didn't like he wasn't like tier 1, but he was definitely like A tier or something. It's like a tier 2 hero, something like that. Chronospheres, man, very good spell. Gyrocopter Side Gunner, Scepter attack rate changed from every 1.1 to 1.2, so small nerf on Ags for Gyro. Alright, here comes IO changes. The Spirit Slow is now going to 15, but he's now got a GPM talent at 10. So it's experience gain and GPM. 15 talent, changed from the Spirit's hero damage to Spirit Slow. So the Spirit Slow is now at 15. And the 20 talent changed from the GPM, which is now at 10, to 75. So basically, this talent at 15 that was really busted, that made Ags kind of broken, is now at 20. So you don't get insane damage on IO till 20, which means your timings line up kind of weird. You don't even get slows until 15. So any fighting before then is not going to be nearly as strong for IO. So basically you can't like dominate the 10 level with Spirit Slow. You can't dominate the 15 with insane damage. It's more like the slow gets delayed till 15, and then the huge damage doesn't even come till 20. So my guess, and maybe this is crazy to say, my assumption is that if IOPs want to play carry, they will go experience gain now. Because if they get to 20, they will be the same anyways. But they want to go from 10 to 15 really quick, and they want to go from 15 to 20 really quick. But those are kind of big level jumps, so I don't know if it's going to be easy. If I'm playing support IO, GPM looks kind of appealing, I must say, because Spirit Slow is nice, but realistically, you're more focusing on keeping your cores alive. So I kind of feel like having items from a GPM talent could be really helpful for that. I don't even remember what his other talents are. Let's go check. Oh, I'm sorry, he doesn't have experience gain anymore. It's damage. I forgot that they changed the experience to Spirit Slow, so that doesn't exist anymore. So it's just damage. It's either damage or GPM. I feel like everybody grabs GPM. Nobody will grab damage. Because if you're a support, GPM is insane, especially 90. And if you're a core, I don't know, maybe damage is viable, but then there's the health regen one. Like hypothetically, you could go like 90 GPM, health regen, armor, just go like full defense. I don't think that's a terrible idea. 15 armor is kind of a lot. Not sure. That could really, yeah, I think this is going to be a decent enough nerf against core IO. I think it's still going to be semi-viable, but it's not going to be like less broken. Coddle, blinding light, huge buff to that. 14-second cooldown at all levels, which means getting one skill point early is not at all going to feel awful like it did before. The cast range is also buffed in all ways, so blinding light, infinitely better skill. Chakra magic mana leak increased by 0.5% at all levels, and level 25 talent Will-O-Wisp Flicker to +3 instead of just +2. I would say the blinding light change is definitely nice. That one could be useful, I would say, because it only does 50 magic damage. But if you think about how much that is, it's okay. Like most level 1 spells do like 75-ish damage. Maybe more. But like I could definitely see some justification to do something like this pushes 350 range. 350 units is pretty good. It's going to give your team a lot more right clicks. So you could hypothetically go like Illuminate, Blinding Light, or what's the Chakra magic cooldown change? 4? You won't be able to cast this twice in the laning stage, but you could hypothetically go like Blinding Light, Chakra magic. Is that crazy? You could even use them offensively to drain a little mana. 4.5% per 100 units. So you could drain about 15%. It's like 13.5% of enemy hero mana between Blinding Light and Chakra magic. So if you have 300 mana, that's like, it's not much. It's like 45 mana. It's not worth casting this for a mana drain early on, but you can certainly do like Blinding Light, Chakra magic, cast another Blinding Light later to push heroes around. You could easily Blinding Light for bounty runes. I think that's a really valid. Like I could definitely see Coddles getting Blinding Light at level 1 now. I feel like, because it's actually a 14-second. It's like a reasonable cooldown instead of 30. But before you had to get Illuminate. So I'm not saying it's gonna like fix the hero, but I think this is a really smart way to like adjust things, because it's like not really changing the hero at all, but it's making one skill viable in the early game that could be useful in various ways that like a lot of heroes don't have access to. You've got knockback, you have slight damage, and you have a mischance. 70% mischance is huge in the early game. And again, it's kind of like Rubik Lift. You're pushing somebody away from where they're supposed to be technically. So I could see it be useful. You could gank mid, push enemy heroes to like low ground, stuff like that. Basically, people are going to... All these like situations that I'm theory crafting now, nobody even fucking tried them in the past because it just wasn't worth getting Blinding Light that early. People would get one, I think, but they wouldn't like ever... They would fucking never consider getting it at level 1. There's no way. On a 30-second cooldown, your hero's basically useless otherwise. So I think we're going to see a lot more uses where Blinding Light might be good and reasons to actually pick Coddle in the early game. Kunkka, level 15 talent, reduced from 12 health regen to 10. That was the prevailing Kunkka talent, but I've actually seen a lot more players getting torrent damage at 15, so a little surprised about that. And also nerfed to his strength talent at 20, which is fine. His talents are they were probably way too good. This makes torrent AoE more appealing, you could easily argue, which I think is exciting. I kind of want to mess around with support Kunkka again. Certainly still possible here, especially between torrent damage and torrent AoE being untouched. But yeah, maybe worth it. Like in Summon Wolves, spawn amount increased from 2 to 3. Okay. And the gold bounty reduced, but there's 3 of them. So instead of 40 gold for 2, it's now 45 for 3. That's kind of a huge change. You could easily just deal a shitload of damage with wolves now, because the damage is the same. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Coddle didn't get picked at all at TI. It was like Coddle, Clockwork. There's maybe a third hero. Can't remember. Shapeshift cooldown reduced by 20 seconds at the first level, which is pretty fair, I think. 3 wolves, though. Mirana Sacred Arrow base damage reduced by 40 at all levels, which is fair. And the bonus damage increased by 40. So basically it still does the same. The issue before was that it would do bonus damage based on how far it traveled. So it probably just did a little bit too much damage at level 1 was part of it. If I had to guess, it probably did like, I don't know, it's probably like 150 magic damage nuke. But if you still land the long range arrows, it's still the same. Moonlight Shadow mana cost increase. This is fair too. They reduce the mana cost to solve some of the mana issues, but if you're playing it as support, this isn't really going to hurt her that much. But it will matter sometimes. Completely fair nerfs, and they're not even like that overly punishing. It's just going to be, if you're doing like closer range arrows, they won't be nearly as good, which is a big deal. So this is the screenshot that Day9 sent me that he was really excited about. Void no longer does half damage during daytime, thank God. Nightstalker was like barely picked at TI. He got picked like once or twice at the end, towards the end, I think. I think Liquid picked him once or twice. So now you can resume last hitting with Void, praise the Lord, and it does 90 damage against heroes during the day. So the first 5 minutes on Nightstalker won't feel like you have wasted skill points. Base damage reduced by 4 on Ogre, which is definitely needed. He still does a lot of damage. The fact that he had 4 on top of that is kind of crazy, but I mean, he's still going to do like, what, 56 per hit? 57 per hit on average. Phantom Lancer, Juxtapose. Juxtapose illusions damage increased by 2%. So that's a buff to your illusions. It's kind of like a late game buff to PL, kind of. It's not that huge, but it can matter. It's like a 2 to 3 damage. No, it's not. Yeah, it's like a 2 to 3 damage increase for your illusions for each one. Jaunt is now disabled by Root. Okay, so that's when you throw out your orb and you jump to it. So if you throw your orb but you get rooted, you can't jump anymore. And Phase Shift is no longer disabled by Root. So they didn't like completely nerf him. So if you get rooted, you can just Phase Shift your hero. But you can't jaunt anymore. So if you throw your orb and you get rooted, you need to use Phase Shift to protect yourself until the root ends. Then you can jaunt out. Agility gain increased, so he's got more. He'll have more. It'll have more attack speed and a little bit more armor. And then the 20 talent is buffed in both ways. Winnie Rift cooldown bonuses, which puts Winnie Rift at a really low cooldown. 4 seconds now. So you can silence somebody for 3.5 out of 4 seconds. Just by standing near them with Winnie Rift. That talent is becoming potentially really good. Cooldown is very low. Although I think the Illusory's talent looks like they have actually pretty comparable win rates. But yeah, I was going to say, I feel like almost everybody gets the Illusory orb distance and speed. Cast range one might confuse you, but I think it's just to cast like Dream Coil a little bit easier. And also Blink Dagger and Yule Scepter, that kind of a thing. Cool. Looks like we're nearing the end. Shadow Demon Soul Catcher damage reduced by 5% at all levels, completely fair. And a nerf to the movement speed talent, that one was very good. So I think these are fine, considering how decent SD did at TI. I think these nerfs are more or less non-factors. And you can dodge half of them just by going Shadow Poison damage. Tiny base strength reduced by 2 damages. So he got a 2 damage buff to strength, got a 2 damage buff to his base damage, but his strength got reduced by 2. So he's got a little bit less HP. Tree Volley damage reduced. Fair. Okay, so basically big nerfs to this. So the Tree Volley would throw your spells, or throw your trees. It would increase your damage by 20% per throw based on what damage you have. That's gone now. So it just does 100% of your regular damage. The mana cost went up by 50, and the cooldown goes up to 15 seconds, which is a lot more in line with fairness. Now, most of these changes might seem kind of small to you guys, but this is kind of just like a baby patch while they wait for the next big one. Because basically, let me finish, and I'll just talk about it now. Basically, like, the beta testers in Icefrog, they don't know what's going to be broken. Like, they have some ideas and all, but like they don't know what's truly going to be the best until TI gets played out. And after TI happens, they need some time to like figure out what needs to be fixed. And they also probably have some major things in mind. So they need to release a patch, that way people don't get sick of like TI heroes as bad, like right after TI. And then this buys them time basically to come out with like a bigger patch that's going to shake the game up a little bit. So this is not too unexpected for what we were going to see out of the patch. So nerfs to like Tree Volley, for example, are definitely really needed, and was something that looked really broken at times. Undying changes. Soul Rip max unit count reduced, and I'm guessing the raw damage goes up. Okay, the damage and heal per unit increased. So basically, it's the same early on, but it probably requires less units to max out your Soul Rip now, which is ultimately a really good thing. 11 units is really not much. And 11 times 43 is a lot. That's 473. So hypothetically, I could certainly see a max soul rip becoming sort of viable, to be honest. Especially if you do some kind of combo stuff like Wraith King Undying. Let him spawn the skeletons for soul rips, you know? Level 1 Soul Ripso value. That's true. 8 times 22. 176. That's pretty good. It's a long cooldown. It's 24 seconds, but yeah, 176 damage is pretty solid. It's a huge nuke for 1 skill point, and it only costs 80 mana. That's a really good point. I don't know if it's worth getting 2 skill points early on, because the scaling is kind of weak. Like, I wouldn't just drop 2 points into Soul Rip, I feel like. Because that's what, 9 times 29? It's still kind of a lot of damage. It goes from like 179 to 261. Do I have that right? 176. So 176 to 261, and then 360, and then the 43, yeah. So 176, 261, 360, 473. That's a shitload of damage. It's going up by like what, 90 per level, basically. 85 per level. Almost 100 damage for the third one. It's and then 100 and yeah, the skill is looking really good. 11 units is kind of a lot though. A full creep wave on both sides, that's 8. So if you don't have extra units than that, it's not the biggest number. But if you've got tombs on the ground or summons, Soul Rip is quickly going to become like a monster skill. I mean, it's basically already there. I think potentially something like a Veil on top of this. You could Soul Rip somebody twice and just fucking kill him. Soul Rip should mini stun? That's crazy, dude. That'd be way too good on this low cooldown. There's no way. There is no way. Okay. Flesh Golem current health loss per second increased by 2%. This needed to happen, actually. The damage from Flesh Golem was really inadequate, I thought, before. As the radius is so small, it's only 375. I like that it gives you a health bonus. The slow got buffed, which is nice, but the damage it dealt was really, really shit. They kind of fucked up Undying in that way. And I'm kind of glad that he's getting buffs because I'm a fan of the hero. Definitely interested in trying like a quick max Soul Rip build. I don't know if you'd want to max Tomb first, or delay maxing Tomb, because the spawn interval is kind of important. But could certainly see like a max Soul Rip build becoming really boss in a couple fights. In which case, like, you definitely get cast range and stuff like that. Okay, Ursa, Earth Shock something, damage increased by 25 at all levels. It's okay. Plague Ward, base attack time improved. A little bit more damage. Venom scale interval damage increased by 5 at all levels. So it's basically like a 25 damage increase to all gales, which is not much. So that's like Venomous Scale does 100 damage instead of 75 at level 1. So pretty tiny. Even like this is kind of not great. I don't even think you can affect these by auras and stuff. Thanks for the sub, Oddjed. Anyone else? Let's see, you got some more questions that I missed. Yes, gonna play Dota right after. If you click in the margins, it doesn't do that scroll thing. Let's try. Yeah, it's only clicking here where it matters. Okay, cool. Well, that's the patch. That's pretty small.